Okay, so my timer is there, right? Okay. I was 3 when I found out that Mr. Rogers was not the kindly, sweater-wearing old man he pretended to be on TV. I remember I was watching it, and it was my favorite show at the time, and all of a sudden he turned around wearing a gorilla mask, scared the living crap out of me. I ran under the dining room table and yelled, "I don't want to be your neighbor anymore." So why did I do that? Well, according to physics, people in masks cannot be trusted. And I think the reason for this is really to do with just our basic human instincts. You know, when we're talking to somebody, when we're relating to somebody, it comes to us as kind of a natural thing to try to figure out what they're about, to try to see where they're going with that. And if we get blocked by something they're doing, either mentally or physically or intentionally or unintentionally, it makes us very uncomfortable, and we suddenly don't really buy into what they're saying anymore. Today I'm going to take you through 3 different examples of how this can be applied to life today. Obviously, it's November 4th, so we can't talk about wearing masks without going into politics a little. I apologize. Second, I'm going to talk about just something that people do unintentionally when they're around people in a communication type situation. Wearing sunglasses at an inappropriate time can really throw people off sometimes, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit. And finally, I'm just going to talk about what it really says about you when you put on a mask in public and when you're trying to communicate with somebody, what kind of perception that gives people of you as a person. So we'll start off with the politics, as so many people have done today, and we'll talk about how politicians are often reluctant to say exactly how they feel on an issue, because if they seem too opinionated, it can throw off a lot of people. So they try to keep things a little vague sometimes, and I'm not talking about any particular party. I'm just talking about, in general, candidates tend to do that to try to make them as widely popular as they can, you know. So they'll, instead of saying, well, I strongly feel this, they'll say, well, I think you can have a point with that, and I think you can maybe bring some of this into it, but often they try to keep themselves a little at a distance from showing their true feelings. And I think this is something that can really, as we've seen in this election, throw a lot of voters and political commentators off. That's always the first thing to come up, you know. Where does he really stand? What is he really saying? Or what is she really saying in some cases? And just that fact that people are so quick to jump on that point with politicians and see that they're not telling us what's really going on, it shows that that's something large that we take into account when we decide whether to trust someone or not. My second point, I actually have an example from my dad. He wears prescription glasses, but I guess he doesn't really want people to think he wears prescription glasses, so instead of just wearing normal glasses, he tends to wear sunglasses, rain or shine, indoors, outdoors, everywhere he goes. And a lot of times, I mean, not at work, but a lot of times, you know, when he's talking to people, you can tell they're kind of standoffish by him because they can't see his eyes, they can't see what he's really emoting, they can't see what he's thinking, and that puts people on guard with someone when they can't see into you and see what you're really about and see what you're really talking about. That's a mask. That's a physical mask you wear. And I mean, obviously you're not walking around in a clown mask, but it's something that puts a barrier between you and somebody else. And you can see people's reactions quite clearly when something like that happens. And finally, I want to end with, why do we really put on these social facades? Why do we act like this in public? Why do we try to be something we're not? And if you really come down to it, who knows you better than you know yourself, right? So if there's something about yourself you think is not worth showing to other people, then you really know there's something going on there underneath that nobody else can know. So if you see someone that's kind of acting like they maybe aren't showing you the whole picture, that makes you feel like they know something about them that you don't. That makes you feel like they're hiding something. So be yourself, even if you think it's not going to be something that people are going to latch onto and love the first second. They're going to feel a lot more comfortable with you just at the outset as a first impression, and it kind of lets you put them at ease and communicate what you want to say and have them trust you. So that's really how I want to end this speech, and I think it's important because especially where we're heading in this country today, we really need to all be honest and tell each other what we're really thinking once in a while. Thank you.
Nah, she knows. All right, I like the personal story at the start. I thought you had a clear thesis statement given the topic. You've got a good setup of the contents. The first point is a little abstract in your illustrations. The second and third points, I think, are a little bit better. The second point was actually, I think, the one that was the strongest. You have very clear internal signposting. On the presentation issues, almost everything is very solid. There are one or two things that I think are a little problematic. I do think that you go a little far to the side a couple of times when you're speaking, and you seem to be backing away from the audience from time to time rather than engaging the audience. At the end of the speech, I thought the summary was okay, but it seemed like it was staying a little abstract and almost a little bit different from the way you'd started the speech. But all the structural stuff is solid. Most of the presentation things are also very solid. Thank you.